There it is. All right, now we're actually live. So don't say any more bad words.
Okay.
All right, I still love you. Isn't that the name of that one of the drone ships? Right? I still love you.
It's called Of Course I Still Love
Of course, I still love you. Of course. Why? What?
Of course.
Of course. Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Of a horse is a course. Of a horse is a course. Could be whatever.
Of course
Sure.
I Still Love You.
Of course. But what else could it be?
Well, they have a few ships, a few drone ships.
I know my buddy, my next door neighbor, is an engineer for one of them. So.
Yeah, I met the guy. He's cool.
Yep. All right, gonna go live here in about 10. We'll give it 10 seconds.
Open live. Yeah.
Woohoo! Yeah. I'm gonna go 5, 4. What you have something to say? What?
No, go ahead.
All right, 3.
No, the wife's game got here.
Oh, cool, sweet. 3, 2, 1, and bango! Hello, everybody, and welcome to Not Your Average Show. Here with Mike and Corey. It is February, what is it, the 12th? And it is Thursday. How is everybody doing today? We are on the precipice of, you know what's coming tomorrow, Corey?
Saturday. No, it's a launch tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a launch tomorrow. We're gonna be live streaming our first launch coverage from the banks of the Indian River for Starlink 19. So that is something that is exciting. That is very much on the boards here. Sweet. How's everything else going? What game did you just get? You just got a game, I heard.
Wife. What's the game called?
Wife.
Well, I'm not gonna use her name.
Wife. Hey, wife. Get over here.
Super Mario 3D World
Ooh.
plus Bowser's Fury.
Bowser's Fury. Ah.
Bowser's Fury. That's the new one.
I have not played, I have to admit, I have not played a Mario game in quite some time. A very long time, as a matter of fact. So.
Yep, Bowser's Fury.
Do you have it? Wait, hold it up. Do you have it there with you?
You want to hold it up? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, hold it up. Hold it up. There you go. Oh, Mario World. Sweetness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bowser's Fury.
All right, I'm sorry. Here's your game.
Oh, she's got to go play it
My
now?
apologies. Yeah, she wants to get it installed so she can play it later.
Awesome. Awesome.
My apologies. My apologies.
Yeah, we were supposed to stream some Battlefront last night, but you know what? I just didn't bother to stream it. We got in a couple of games that got pretty much ruined last night on Battlefront.
Yeah,
Star Wars Battlefront. Yeah. It was pretty horrible.
Yeah.
So, hey, with that said, for tomorrow, we are going to upload this to our channel, this commercial that I just made. It's junk. It's a total junk commercial. Okay, but here's the difference. I know it's junk, so I don't expect very much from it. But we're going to stream it to you guys live. You cool with everybody seeing the commercial? So this is
what's that?
This is our promo for the launch event coming up, right? So this is basically something that I just made today, and we'll just go let this play, and you guys can check this out. It's just, oops. It's another world premiere right here on the channel.
World's premiere.
Oh yeah, buddy. That's what we're doing. We are doing that tomorrow. So that should be. We will be live from the banks of the Indian River. We're going to be giving you a different perspective on a launch. We have a bunch of zoom lenses on some decent camera equipment, and we're excited to be sitting there getting eaten alive by bugs, probably rained on, and sitting there for hours in the same anticipation as everybody else that usually watches from home, in hopes to see a live nighttime rocket launch, which is some of the best. We've seen, how many rocket launches have we seen now?
Oh man,
Trying to figure out.
a bunch. Obviously a bunch of rocket launches since that's been going on here on the coast. But I mean, since I've been interested in space forever since I've been here in this state. I mean, how many shuttle launches? I don't even know. Tons.
I saw every shuttle launch from 2008 all the way
Tons
till
of launches.
they shut down the shuttle program. Saw the Atlas when they did the test on the Atlas. I've seen every SpaceX launch that they've ever done here from the Cape. Just about the only one I missed that I was away for was the first launch of the Heavy. I was in the maintenance hangar at our air. But go ahead.
I think I saw the first Falcon Heavy launch.
I didn't see the first Falcon Heavy, but then the day they blew one up on the launch pad, I was in the maintenance hangar at Space Coast Regional Airport because I remember I was getting ready to do a maintenance flight in a helicopter when it exploded and rattled all the tools in the entire facility, which was kind of impressive. So
I remember.
Yeah, that was a good one. So we are excited to bring that to you, and we've also something that I've done on the channel is we're not really sure if we're allowed to use the rights basically to SpaceX and their feed. We'd like to make it as a part of our feed coming up for this launch. And there's something that just we want to have it to get a little bit of audio from it to give you the multiple perspectives, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's basically what we're doing, or we're trying to doing. And the funny part is that we didn't really know who to ask for permission. So we're like, hey, it'd be really nice to go ahead and ask somebody permission to do this. So
yeah, I just want to make sure we could rebroadcast somebody else's stream.
Yeah.
And SpaceX usually seems to be pretty happy that people are covering their stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't think it'd be a big problem. But yeah, Mike's got a little bit of a kink there, a little bit of excitement.
I do.
Contacted.
So what I did was just before we went live on the live stream today, I decided that it would be really cool, and I tweeted this out to Elon Musk off of my gaming account, which was Elon and SpaceX. Elon, our startup channel, Not Your Average Show, would like to use part of the live stream content of the Starlink 19 mission as we cover it live from the banks of the Indian River on Saturday night. Please help us out. Picture. Thanks. Yeah, there's my little guy. Right. So so that happened.
On fire.
So yeah, so that's that is and I sent a link to the episode that we recently did on the live stream asking if Elon Musk is Dr. Evil. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah. No, yeah, I forgot that was your icon.
Yeah, that's my buddy.
You just see everybody reading that. Like, what the F is that?
It's a burning Elmo.
If you guys are down with memes, if you're into that, as you're on the internet, of course, there's a GIF, and it's Elmo.
Yeah, with fire.
Having a bad day.
Yeah, Elmo with fire. Okay, so that wraps up all the intro stuff. And as we continue our theme of recently covering a lot of air taxi news, I think, what do you want to take the floor here, and what do you want to go into first as we probably dabble into the extensive views that we got on one of our previous live streams, which is the Joby, which is one of the manufacturers of the creatively bendable tripods that people use for live streaming all over the place. They have been involved in some extensive work in the air taxi industry, and they're getting ready to go public, and it's looking like it's going to be sizable. So which way do you want to go with this one first? Tell me which article you want me to key up.
Do you want to we're doing a lot of air taxi stuff today.
You want me to do Moller?
We have one article it's not huge news, but we have one about it's also about Elon. You want to do the Elon one real quick? It's a 5-minute thing.
Okay, we can do that one. Hey, in tribute to one of my favorite people, I will.
Do that one too?
No, I'll do that one. So,
okay, cool.
So we'll do this. We'll do this. I'll go with Elon. Wants to, or do you want to do this? I don't care. You do it. I do it. Who cares? You tell me who's doing it.
You go ahead. Do Elon's.
Okay, I'm doing Elon's. All right. So here we are. Right. So Elon Musk right now. He wants the new Tesla Roadster that's coming out to hover. So basically, we saw the Tesla Roadster come 2017 was the introduction to it. It's going to be one of the fastest road-going cars ever created by man. On top of the fact that it's going to use the technology that's embedded underneath from Tesla, none other than their grand starting place, which was originally their Roadster. So recently on Joe Rogan, Elon decided to let out that they're still working on using possibly some compressed air or some sort of the same system that they're using on the Starship now for remote controllability to possibly, and he's thinking about doing this, make the new Tesla sports car hover. On top
I think the funny part reading this is you can read between the lines and see he's perfectly happy that they can do it.
Yes. Oh yeah.
His quote is trying to figure out how to do it without, killing anybody nearby.
Yes.
So that it'll be legal to drive on the road.
Yes.
It's just funny that this, it's just funny that that's literally the problem. That's the hang up.
That's the hang up.
Is not making it work or making it hover. The hang up is not killing anyone in the process.
Of course. And, and here's the thing, right? Anytime you leave the adhesion of nice, comfortable surface of tires on road, you enter a whole new physics equation. And one of the things that he was really proud of, the fact that they might actually have a drop-down tailplate with this actually compressed air to give it this professed supersonic, acceleration speed in the Tesla Roadster, which is fantastic. I mean, it's like every kid's James Bond dream, right? And this is what he's really playing on. But when he goes into this highly pressurized fuel vessel with a quote-unquote a bunch of thrusters... I say follow the science. I'm all for it.
Literally quotes a bunch of thrusters with highly pressurized fuel vessels.
That's a quote that's actually right here. A bunch of thrusters right here in the article.
It'll again quote move like a bat out of
hell. Bat out of hell.
That's literally that's the 0 to 60 time.
Is bat out of hell. 0 to 60 is literally bad. If you're a fan of Meatloaf, well, then Bad Out of Hell is a great album, but now it's actually going to be a measurable term in science over speed versus distance. That'll be great. So that's exciting enough to see. But here's what I want to know. The minute it goes into hover mode, right? If he actually creates this, does it have to be certified as a aircraft under the guise of the FAA? Because if it's capable of moving at those speeds, wouldn't somebody,
I think the few things there, because I know I also reading this, he said he originally, or he still does, I guess, he still wants it to hover like a few meters above the ground, or a meter, but that's when he first read this, I'm thinking, okay, he wants to make a car hover. Okay, cool. It's gonna be like what, a foot? It's hovering. Awesome. No, he wants it like a few meters above the ground. And of course, it's a car, so there's gonna be people in it. So then again, as Mike asked the question, who who has to step in and regulate this now? Because now it's a car, which is a vehicle, DOT, but then now it's an aircraft, kind of, with people, but with souls on board.
With souls on board, right? So I don't
know, I don't know how that works.
It's good you're gonna have to recertify tires to be airworthy. I mean, yes, I know that they're gonna have to go through. They're gonna have a speed rating. They're gonna.
All the normal things, but I mean, I don't know, man. I guess it depends if the car moves in a direction while it's hovering, or is it meant to hover and then land and then drive like a car?
Dude, don't ask me. I am just the schlep that reads an article and goes, "That's really cool."
Yeah, actually, and I know we're gonna move on here in a second, but
sure.
Do you remember what the cost of these was supposed to be? What did he say? Wasn't it like 250,000 or something? Not that much.
It wasn't. Okay, so let's put it this way. It was sub the millions. If you think about all the super performance cars or the hyper cars out there, and in that category, it's going to be cheaper. Number one. Number two. Yeah. Let's face it. Elon Musk has single-handedly made electric cars sexy and fast.
Oh, here you go. Yeah, here you go. 200,000.
200,000
base. 250 for the founders. And then I know he said something, the SpaceX version will be extra. But I mean, let's just like double the price. Okay, $400,000 SpaceX Roadster. It's still cheaper than a lot of hypercars out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And quick.
Absolutely.
And I think he said, 600 miles of range. They're talking to putting the new battery technology in this thing. So
that'd be great.
Yep.
Good things from Tesla. So with that said, hey guys, remember, like, subscribe, follow, and remember, tomorrow night we'll be live streaming from the river. Just let you know, it's covering the SpaceX launch. So before we stop sweating Elon Musk, just remember we also have a couple videos on there and some other stuff that he's been up to if you want to go back and check in the past history of live streams. With that said, you want to kick it off to another type of flying vehicle? The
Sure. Yeah,
Terrafugia?
we'll move it on. So as you guys can see down in the description below, we're going to talk about some
Yep.
move back to our vertical takeoff and landing aircraft kind of chat. As we've been following this emerging industry, really, because I'm going to call it industry because there's a lot that goes into this, as we see in the report that we posted, actually, which we'll talk a bit about as well next. This is something that there's definitely some movement in this, and it's been in the works for a number of years, but really in the past 3 years or so has really started to move here. And so one of the big players here, well, two of the big players is Joby Aviation, and then there's Lilium. And but this next article is about Joby Aviation, and the title goes, Joby Aviation to announce 5.7 billion
I'm not wrong.
SPAC,
Go ahead.
and Lilium and others to follow. And this again a banner month for eVTOLs. So the industry is taking off. Well, no pun intended. But there you go. So,
He
but
said
basically,
industry's taking off.
So if you're not familiar, like what an SPAC is, it's basically a way that the group of investors can buy something, but they're not like directly related. So they put their money in this kind of again SPAC, and that SPAC goes out and buys something, like let's say this technology. And so anyway, they've been courting a few different SPACs on trying to get something solidified. But anyway, they're the leading player right now in the eVTOL industry, and it looks like something's going to go ahead with that. So it looks like here, let me see. That was originally presented by the Financial Times, but then basically Lilium's also in talks with one of them called the Quell Acquisition Group. That's another SPAC. So they're kind of on the same track. And so these things, as Mike and I were talking a bit before the show, as there's definitely interest and technology being developed for this industry, right? It all comes back to dollars and cents, right? Is something gonna be marketable enough and profitable enough that people are gonna actually use it and make money on it? But then even before that, when you're making a new industry like these are, you need cash to get it going. And some of that estimated cash flow that you need to get stuff going, that comes also in this report we'll talk about next. But getting back to the main thing here is that the Lilium and, as it appears, Joby for certain, are going to have players that are on their side to foot the bill.
Yes.
And and yeah, I mean, there's some other players. There's EHang, that's a Chinese developer. They're also developing eVTOLs.
EHang's been flying for a while. They've had stuff up there for almost 3.5-4 years.
That's what I mean. So there's some other big players, not just stateside as it would be, but worldwide. Again, Lilium's out of Germany, and Joby's out of California, and EHang's out of China. So there's some stuff going on. Yeah. Mike, what do you got? You want to talk about that a bit?
Sure. Well, I mean, we know here's the challenges with what's coming up, right? So first of all, what I think Tesla has proven is that there's a marketplace for short range electric powered vehicles, even increasing the range in the basic operation of daily driver vehicles has changed the perception in the American public and the buying public is at large that there's viable technologies out there that could replace short haul, small passenger transport. Now, let's put it this way. Flying a Cessna 172 is not everybody's cup of tea. And the reason being is because it literally needs this super long, not super long, but it needs at least 3,000 feet of runway length. It needs fairly calm condition. It takes a bit of skill to actually take off and land. And it's a completely different environment because there's one thing that a Cessna has to do in order to complete its mission. It has to be going forward at all times. All right. And as Corey and I can tell you, in the helicopter industry, that's a completely different animal because you suddenly don't have to be forced through the air at all times in order to achieve flight. And that's where this is kind of the interesting conversation of the quote unquote flying car, right? Because a stationary car is garbage. Nobody wants a stationary car. And
that's
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No,
I was just going to say what Mike was saying about the public kind of being more on board with this was you'll see the report we posted, or one of the pages talks about really when the public really started to change negative perceptions versus positive perceptions. That's about 2017.
Yep.
And really some of that was driven by Joby. One of the things they were saying was it's going to be a clean car, right? It's all electric, but then also it'll be able to be a bit fast. But also one of the main things they're talking about is it's literally 100 times more quiet than a helicopter. Which is, and we just mentioned, we for helicopters and helicopters, if you're talking about something that is able to do short hops versus airplanes. Obviously, if you need to go from here to California, if you need to go thousands of miles, you're not going to get in electric eVTOL air taxi because you need to go really far.
Yeah.
And that's a different vehicle for that, different tool. But if you had the funds in the past and you need to go short hop and you didn't want to drive, you could take an air taxi helicopter.
Sure.
But even helicopters, they have to have a place to land. They're relatively expensive to operate per hour, but they're loud too. That's just part of it.
So let's look at the benefits over going to electric that obviously that we're discussing. And one of the major benefits is actually noise, right? But what a lot of people also don't consider is the fact that when you have a loud turbine helicopter, the turbine itself is not the loudest thing in the helicopter. It's the blades slapping through the air. So the minute you reduce the size of that blade structure, the main rotor blades in and of themselves, because they're in some cases almost 30 feet across, right? The tip of that blade is traveling much faster than the interior of the blade, and the tip of that blade makes baby sonic booms, okay? Because it's actually going through a flapping motion. The tail boom, the tail rotor actually moves at 4 to 6 times the speed of the main rotor. That is also making a considerable amount of noise. And that's why these guidelines and perception has changed, because suddenly when you reduce that noise footprint, because you don't have to go through that massive chopping of air with these massive blades anymore, you reduce your noise structure. The second thing that I'm going to talk about is transmissions, right? And what I mean by transmission is the same thing in your car. However, it's a little different. The transmission in your car takes either a horizontally or a longitudinally aligned engine, and it transmits that power from one part of the engine into basically your transmission gear housing, and then out the back, and it powers 2 wheels. Well, a helicopter suffers from the same thing, as a turbine is aligned usually overhead, okay, and it has to take the turbine-driven shaft power, and it has to convert it into power for the tail rotor and power for the main rotor. Now, that's the most expensive process in flying a helicopter, because that means you have 3 times the maintenance on a helicopter that you do on the average fixed-wing fixed-wing airplane, okay? So when you're talking about some of these costs and analysis, they're really, really, really big savings by having directly affixed propellers to electric motors, right? And the last part is main rotor systems and tail rotor systems, and the rigging that is necessary to maintain directional control and stability of a helicopter are extensively engineered. There's lots of small moving parts, and there are lots and lots and lots of maintenance parts. So a lot of the costs that these electric cars are really going to cut out of the vertical takeoff and landing ability of a craft is immense. So I can see where public opinion has changed. But I don't think the general public has any idea that that's just the first steps towards getting towards the next part, which is, and I'll leave you to talk about this, you have to create some sort of road in the sky.
Yeah. That's something the FAA has been going on for a number of years now, is trying to figure out where. I think if we're going to talk about how the FAA wants to bring in some regulations on where these things will fly and how they'll fly, we got to talk a little bit about drones as well. Typical quote, as in nomenclature, general public talk about just drones, and those will be the unmanned vehicles that transport property or something for hire. Packages. Think UPS or FedEx, or as it would be Bell Helicopter. They've got their own little drones that transport packages of various business, why they're doing it. But that stuff is all going to be automated. They want it to be automated, and they want to move up in a lot of scale so that these things can actually be implemented, everywhere. But if you walk outside and you look up, and you're not a pilot, you look up and you see the planes flying quite high, quite far away, but you can see them. There's actually, let's call them blocks of space in 3D space, or let's call them, in a way, roads in the sky, where planes are supposed to fly.
Right.
And there's rules for where they can fly, how fast they can fly, what type of weather they can fly there, who they can carry, a whole bunch of rules, which is good. It's all meant to keep people safe and move things appropriately around. But this is, again, as we were alluding to, which isn't really a surprise anymore, drones and air taxis it's a new industry. This is something that didn't quite exist. Air taxis kind of had, helicopter routes in some big cities. There's things like that. But the scale that a lot of these companies want to implement over the next decade. Just needs the FAA is going to have to, and they are. The FAA is trying to look at how this fits in. And there's been talk of certain heights. So you might see these air taxis flying maybe no more than 1,000 feet in the air,
Sure.
around cities of certain places, and then maybe from 1,000 feet down to 500, from the 500 down to like 300 will be where the drones fly, something like that.
Dude, the problem is that here's the biggest
like
issue: 5 to 300 to 1,000 feet. We know is also one of the prime spaces for fog and limited visibility. So even when they design this road, they're also going to have to devise these things to fly in IMC using, using the most that complicated of techniques in order to get these aircraft to do what they're supposed to do. Okay, and I think that this general perception of everybody is, from the Jetsons, hit a button. The thing, and off it goes into the, into the sky. The problem is they never show it go into clouds, right?
Yeah, and actually, you bring up an interesting point too, because it may not be apparent as you look at the article. I know Mike had up a minute ago of the picture from this article. I'm talking about Joby Aviation. There's a Joby, one of their main aircraft sitting there. Then to the left of it, there's a guy walking out to the aircraft. So, and it is made to carry people, but the idea with the Joby and Lilium is eventually these air taxis will be automated.
Autonomous,
they won't have a pilot on board, or they won't. Or the pilot on board may only carry out a few things, maybe for takeoff and landing, but the whole flight would not be manned or piloted. It would be automated for a vast amount. That's their idea. But just like you said, they're because we've decided to have an industry where we have now air taxis, that doesn't mean the same problems with flying, like you mentioned, that Cessna through cloud, low level takeoff and landing is not going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. That's weather.
Sure.
That's not going away. So it's talking about engineering and also regulating how they address that.
I want to see how these things handle in clouds, because some clouds at their bases can be very turbulent, even at 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet. I would say 85% of the days, 1,000 feet will get you clear of anything above and below, right? It'll probably be decent conditions. The second thing is that when you have 4, 5, 6, 7 passengers on board this thing and there's nobody at the helm and it disappears into a cloud and there's that, look, there's... Because when you hit these clouds, right, like people think that, you fly into a cloud because you do it from the back of a jet, and most people don't have any general aviation experience or have done it in a helicopter or something like that. You just think you punch into a cloud. It's like, oh, no big deal. Guess what? You go into clouds. We sit there. We kind of brace in a little bit. We know it's going to be a little bit bumpy, a little turbulent just before you hit it. And, the next thing you know, there'd be water vapor screaming across the screens and so on and so forth. And then if it's a really cold day, you got to worry about icing, especially low-level surfaces in places like the Northeast. So places that I think that are going to do really generally well, that are probably chomping at the bit. I know that United's looking to plonk down like a bunch of money on the air taxi environment, and I'm sure that they're probably eyeballing places like doing short hops between Newark and JFK and LaGuardia and places, like LAX and around that area, and really incorporating some of their traffic. I could definitely see one of the hottest communities to be right here in Central Florida, between Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville. Okay, all those areas being slightly interconnected will definitely change the way that they can manipulate their air travel. But there's gonna be lots of roadblocks that people don't know that there's so many more inroads that need to be made here. And then the next thing is you've got to create a whole new class of pilot. Okay, whether you're going to call them tablet flyers or whatever the case may be.
Whatever they're going to call them.
Whatever they're going to call them, if you think going to space was interesting and you ask the pilots that are now, or the astronauts that are going to space now on a SpaceX rocket, compared to the guys, 40 years ago, their interfaces are completely different, right? They're all glass cockpit. They're along for the ride, but they have manual control if they basically need it. But the difference is that it's not inherently built into the system the same way that the old systems were designed. And we're going to be seeing that going in reverse here as we go from taking less controls from the pilots and putting more controls on screens in these particular aircraft. It's going to be interesting.
Certainly.
So,
and I mean, I could even see a point where, and actually, Lilium's kind of stated this too, that in the beginning, when they first are getting these operations set up, and they're kind of building also, a safety record, but also public repertoire with the public as a safe and efficient operator. There will be pilots on board, as you mentioned. I don't know. I've done some research, but was unable to find any information on who's thinking about that question, just like you were.
Right.
But Lilium in particular has mentioned that in the beginning the pilot there will be manned and they will be piloted, but they do plan on going automated as they move along. I don't know if that means pilots on board with passengers in the beginning.
Don't know.
And then at some point the pilot seat becomes another passenger seat, and there's a backup pilot at the dispatch or at the destination. There's a center where a pilot monitors a group of flights, and if something goes wrong on a particular flight, then he or she can take over that. Is that how that works?
I don't know. So the other part of it is what are the safety designs inside all of these flying aircraft that are going to prevent them? Because look, in a helicopter, if you have a power failure, if you have certain failures of the transmission or things of that nature, you go in an auto rotation, and an auto rotation is a precision maneuver. You have a lot of control over a helicopter, and you've probably done 2,000 more autos than I have. I've probably got 3,600 auto rotations under my belt, I would imagine.
It's a bunch.
It's thousands, okay? But you can be really precise during an auto rotation, and I'm wondering what their safety measures are going to be in these aircraft, because what goes up must come down. So how are they designing these things to be controllable in non-powered situations, and what's their safety backup? Because that's the other thing that I haven't seen from any of these companies yet.
Yeah, I also wonder that question, just like you. Yeah, I wonder how they go about. While you could speculate, there's certainly probably less moving parts in, let's say, like this Joby here versus. I mean, I'm speculating, but in a helicopter, there's still places for failure, of course. And as engineering goes on, I mean, so certainly, we're probably hitting that, and we're probably talking about that too much, but
a little bit. But you know what?
There you go.
Hey, everybody! Remember, like, subscribe, follow. We're gonna move on to the next topic here, which is a little bit different. Not really indifferent. It's just the old version of what we're talking about, which is Skycars, right? So there was a founding father to all this, and of course, as I clicked on the link, it's gone into some sort of banana zone. And the father, the granddaddy of them all, is Moller. Okay, so Moller Aviation was basically around for a long time, developing their version of what this future of sky cars, flying cars, would be. And not to be disillusioned, it never really had like wheels on it like we're going to see in the Terrafugia, which is a completely different design, right? But they did make some inroads, some fantastic inroads into what they consider their development phase. And this thing did actually fly. There's videos of the Moller out there, airborne. Mm-hmm. And to my surprise, when I did more research on it, they were doing this. And here's a little picture of it flying, like trying to achieve flight over here. And it actually is flying in this video. They were using rotary engines. And the reason why they're rotary engines, they have very limited vibration. There's only two moving parts. They have a long time in engine life before overhaul. They have a lot of advantages. However, mostly since 2019, Moller has gone almost quiet. Their Twitter account has been quiet. Most of their information, they do some eventual interviews. But this guy was actually the founder of another company a long time ago, the guy that made Super Trap mufflers, which I didn't know. Super Traps are famous for those little, condensed packed muffler plates on the back ends of motors. So it's interesting to see where this started, because as I kick this down the road as to where we actually are now with one of the first actually FAA certified aircraft that's going to be considered also roadable. We now get a chance with Corey's going to talk about Terrafugia's opportunity here with the, what do they call this thing? I don't even know what they call it.
The Terrafugia?
Yeah.
It's the transition prototype is what this one
doesn't have a name yet, huh? Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and take us through that one?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so moving on from Moller, going on to Terrafugia, the main thing here was that discovered that basically Terrafugia's they've been working on this thing for a while, but they just got FAA certification for light sport category. Basically, what this allows them to do, and they've already admitted that they've been spending a lot of their time on the engineering and design of the flying portion of the car. Mm-hmm. So they'll tell you that the car part isn't really handled yet, how it drives and DOT, certification, but the flying part they've been really working on, because of course what they were saying, of course, is no one's going to buy a flying car if it only drives.
Right.
If it only drives on the road and you can't fly it, then anyone interested in a quote flying car isn't going to buy this. So they've been working on all the flying part. But anyway, like I said, they've received light sport certification, which basically means yes. I mean, light sport is an airworthiness certification. The thing can fly legally now. And ironically, you were talking about the Moller, and the Terrafugia is also powered by Rotax type engine.
Mm.
So it is not. Well, the prototype is got a Rotax 100 horsepower 4-cylinder engine. It's a hybrid electric, so it's not quite all electric as some of the other things we've been talking about and you might hear about in the news, but
Right.
eVTOLs. But it is a quote flying car, and that's obviously why we're bringing it up. They're supposedly saying that the range is about 400 miles with about 100 miles per hour of range, so not fast, but again, if you look at the thing, the size of what it is, what you probably consider how much, if you're a person wanting to take a trip and go somewhere, bags and stuff to put on, it's not meant to go on long trips.
Right.
It's a flying car. You can literally drive it from your house to the airport and take off and
it's not a flying
go
car,
on
though.
short trips. But all the same interesting points Mike brought up about the Cessna originally needing a runway, everything that goes along with like a regular like general aviation light airplane
Yes.
applies to this thing in this case because it's not vertical takeoff and landing. It's a plane that folds up and is a car, right? So while we're bringing a few different like facets to you today, there's definitely some eVTOL stuff, some vertical takeoff stuff, but it's just worthwhile to say that this is a flying car.
Yeah, it's not. I don't even like the term of flying car because it's not a flying car. Because look, I consider a flying car the Jetsons' dream, right? I'm stuck in traffic.
You talk about a flying car as the Tesla Roadster.
Yeah, no, like the hovering version, right? No, what I'm talking about is look, when I think flying car to myself, I think to myself, okay, this thing, I'm in traffic, I'm stuck, I'm late for a meeting, I hit a button, thing, pops into some other mode, and I go into a vertical takeoff, and I boom out of there at 1,000 miles an hour, right? That's what everybody wants.
You're talking like MIB flying car.
Yeah, MIB flying car. But here's the BS. First of all, if that was the case that everyone had a flying car on the highway, everyone would simultaneously, at the first sign of traffic, all hit the same button, all try to go airborne, and all be in the same traffic jam that they were just 30 feet above the frickin' road, okay?
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I was thinking, I'm going to watch everybody take off, and then I'm just going to stay on the ground and then floor it.
Yeah, either
road's
way.
Gonna be clear in 30 seconds.
Okay, second thing is, if I have my Terrafugia prototype, blah, 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 and I park it in a parking lot and somebody door dings me, is it no longer airworthy, okay? Because there's a lot riding on the fact that you have this float car, but the minute you do something wrong to an airframe, it is automatically go into the books and see if it's actually even airworthy anymore. And then there's the maintenance, right? So I'm just thinking, to me, I think this is a novelty to call this the flying car because what they've basically made it is a very expensive flyable go-kart that would probably be a garage queen that didn't really go anywhere because the practical application of this, I think, is zero.
Right. I mean, it's worthwhile pointing out, and without getting into too much detail, that the light sport category does not enable you to do any business with this thing.
Yeah.
The category that it is light sport. Again, I'm not going to go into it, but basically, what it says it's for personal use only. So if you bought this thing, it's going to be certificated for light sport category ops, and basically that means you can drive yourself around or fly yourself around, I guess, in this case.
Yeah.
But that's it. Yeah, just kind of like, as you said, you're not in traffic, but you can't. I mean, I see the utility being less as a flying car in the way you presented it.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, if you need to go somewhere in your car that also flies, if you need to go to the store and the road's closed and you need to get home, you're not flying home, you're still driving.
Yeah, you're not flying to the shopping market, right?
Yeah, you need a runway. So
you're not.
I get it.
You're not going to go to Walmart unless Walmart has built a 3,000-foot runway in the back of Walmart just for you, and just because you bought a Terrafugia. No, that's not going to happen.
Highly unlikely, especially honestly with all these eVTOLs coming that are making good progress. So I mean, we wanted to include it for you guys to let you know that there is some development in the quote flying car, but it's for me, it's not as exciting as Joby, Lilium, all these other eVTOLs. Even though that's really new as well, for me, it's less exciting.
Yeah. Now, the EBY just commented that would be so much more Fifth Element. Now, the Fifth Element, the difference there is that everyone was in a flying car in Fifth Element. The highways that were there, and I think that's what she was referring to about the comment of having so much traffic.
Traffic.
Yeah.
Traffic. Yeah.
Look, when we break the barrier of propulsion having to be, fuel based or heavy, cell based as batteries go, you're going to see things that are going to be able to achieve much better results in the not too distant future, maybe the next 30 to 50 years. But until that day, there's never going to be just this car that sits out in the backyard, just constantly hovering, that you hop in, like a land speeder. Luke was privileged, I guess. Very privileged.
Yeah, I mean, I guess thinking about real flying cars like Fifth Element, without we won't talk about this forever, but the advantage of that model, even though it's a movie, I get it, is that their highway is not two-dimensional in the sense that you don't have like 5 lanes, and that's your throughput for the highway.
Right.
You have, let's say, 4 lanes, 3 lanes, but then 6 versions of that stacked above, and those are all on the same quote highway or whatever. So but I also, watching the Fifth Element, was also wondering, how do you drive? It's a movie, of course, but how do you drive in here without like literally crashing all the freaking time? Because if you need to change lanes, the lane could be up or down, and how do you even do that, like without running into everyone?
I don't know.
It's all hand flown, but I mean that we're way off topic. But
we are, because we've got to get on to the next one. And if you want to remind everybody what they can do at home for us, that would help us out.
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Yep. So again, very much appreciated you guys tuning in and liking the channel. We'd appreciate if you guys share it with your friends, family, everybody you might like it as well. Subscribe. We've had a bit extra subscribers lately. Very much thank you for that. It's helping us grow the channel. We're gonna try to bring you not just these kind of chats, which we're gonna continue talking about things we find interesting in emerging markets and technologies, but also doing other things like what we're gonna try to do tomorrow for you guys. With the SpaceX Starlink launch. We're going to go over and take some pictures of that. It's going to be a night launch.
More than pictures.
We're watching the weather, like always. But it should be interesting. And so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that.
So much more than pictures. Hey, guess what? The guy on the other side of the screen over here, Corey, shared an article with me this morning, so I'm not going to take credit for finding this because he is the one that divulges most of this information, and I just sit back and I got work to do, but this is awesome. Right? But hey, check this out. He brought up this great article, and this article is, are air taxis ready for prime time? All right? Now, this is a report driven basically by the industry in and of itself to try to figure out what they're going to be doing with air taxis in the not too distant future, as in how they're going to make that jump from science fiction to reality. And in the last couple of years, the investment dollars that have been put into this industry have been more and more and more and climbing. And they're trying to take advantage of the fact that everybody always really wanted the Skycar, right? These people, everyone has been hot for this. But we're finally at this point where burgeoning technologies and infrastructures and so on and so forth are making it likely that people can make this attempt to do it. But it's also giving everyone real hope that now it's finally just coming to fruition. And they're going through, and it's a great report. We have a link to it below. And it's basically setting the stage for basically the ecosystem and remapping of the relevant stakeholders. They're looking at global media analysis and the pressure and the social media traction and things that are going on from the press, not the pressure, excuse me. Then venture capital analysis as to where these venture capitalist dollars are going to be poured into, and the academic research, the patent landscape, and concluding what's next. Because it's a little bit more than just one basic technology. Right? As we get into further and further development of these technologies, there's going to be a lot of spillover. There's going to be a lot of places where people are going to have the opportunity to turn around and take new technologies and embed them into the future of what we do. Okay? So as they go into advanced air mobility and the spectrum of what's going to actually happen, they're actually looking at what can be done and where air, like this passenger transport service, would actually be used. And, intracity, and intercity, right? So there's all these different developments, okay? And also they go into the landscape. Who's involved right now? And there's major players, okay? Over the last couple of years, people like Boeing, Airbus they basically shown their version of air taxis, which are highly nacelled vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. Embraer is involved. JetBlue. Daimler, automotive players that are in there.
Intel,
right. Tons of players that are in there that have the opportunity to gain this mainstream traction. And this is the big thing that Corey was hitting at before, the intensifying media buzz about air taxis. That's the number of news articles and global social media posts about air taxis within the last 10 years. Okay. And it has risen astronomically, as well as the air taxi narrative goes mainstream. Now, to me, I didn't think that this really needed to find a market to land on as much more as it just basically became a reality of what everybody really wanted. Because as far as I was concerned, everybody really wanted a flying car when I was a kid. Right? So there's nothing really there, really that different. The other part of it is that public sentiment has turned positive at this point. So Corey alluded to earlier, as you look at social media posts about air taxis and the negative and positives of them, there's a lot of sentiment that has changed between 2017 and 2020. And this is also going against the grain because in major markets where helicopter noise has been a problem, especially New York, they've been doing their due diligence in the government circles to limit aviation and where it flies over in certain areas that are heavily populated. And that's become a hot button topic. And it was up until, I'd say, the onset of the major part of the pandemic. It's a fantastic read. There's a lot of information there. So there's more and more to digest. And Corey's gone. He's here. He's here in spirit, though, folks.
Yeah, the camera battery went kaput. So I am still here in spirit. I don't know if you have a nice picture to.
I will put.
Maybe I get you a stick figure and put me.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get a stick figure for Corey and put him up there because Corey has flown the coop, as they say. But go ahead, give us your thoughts on the whole report there, Corey.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of the big things that I was hinting to earlier and did want to kind of just a little bit expand on was in this report. It's a really good report. I actually found this morning while doing some other looking around for things that we wanted to add to the conversation. And I think it's really nice because it covers a lot of the facets you mentioned, obviously setting the stage, where this has come from in the past, but then global media, obviously the perception, because we talked about this as being something, as you mentioned in growing up, people talked about flying cars as always being kind of this fanciful but futuristic thing that we thought we'd probably have actually by 2020. And, it's 2021 now, and we don't quite have flying cars.
Nope.
But so that the public perception around the world has actually been flipped on its head since, as it says, 2017. And now that people are really seeing that this is something that could be good for something that they could have in their, let's say, in their neck of the woods, but it wouldn't greatly impact their daily life as far as noise and whatnot. But then also be something that scientists and businesses see as an opportunity to expand their market share in the way that that's technically a new market.
Sure.
Right, because these are new things. The example on top of my head is the Intel. Like, okay, why is Intel really backing? Let's see, they're really backing technology players. A few different ones. Well, I mean, they make silicon chips, of course, right?
Sure.
Not that guy. Who's that guy?
That's you. I'm bringing you in. I'm bringing you into the conversation. There you are.
There you go. Creeper guy
on the phone with Corey. Look, I can bring you in or out as I need.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. So, but Intel, they obviously make chips, right? And that's something that's is not changed. But obviously, since this is, as we mentioned before a few times, technically a whole new market.
Sure.
If Intel can get in there early and back, then it's a new market. It's a completely new market, and that goes for a lot of the players, whether it's Bell, Boeing, Airbus, or even the car manufacturers. Hyundai, we've mentioned in a few past chats we've had that they were looking at some eVTOLs as well.
Yep.
And obviously, then the main actual startups themselves, Joby and Lilium, are not having problems finding people to talk to now that they've kind of proven themselves to actually have a product that has some weight and some, let's call it certifiability.
Sure.
As far as regulations go. So anyway, I mean, going through the report, it's a really nice report as far as showing you guys, if you're watching this video and might be looking at maybe thinking like, okay, investing opportunities. What is it going to look like in 10 years with that? If you're looking at the business side, this is a report for that for you guys too. So yeah, check that link out down below. It's really good for that kind of stuff.
It is.
And you can, again, as we mentioned before, you're going to be guaranteed. We'll keep on this kind of subject for you guys and keep track of that. One down here, it's on page 18. I'm looking at. And now that I know I'm just ethereal, I'm not really even there.
You are ethereal.
We were talking about the big players, and you can see that Joby and Lilium are the top two players.
Sure.
And one thing that we mentioned also is, securing capital to get these things off the ground. Not, again, no pun intended again. But a lot of the industry experts, quote industry experts, they are claiming about $700 to $1 billion with a B.
billion.
Yes, $1 billion.
$1 billion.
To get these operations off, and you can see Lilium, Joby are way ahead even of the other big players, quote big players like Volocopter and eHang. So if you're interested in kind of the leading two in the market, it is definitely Joby and Lilium, two of which are already starting to announce vertiports in various places around the world. Lilium in Germany, but also in Lake Nona, Central Florida, near Orlando, and then Joby's also got some stuff going in. And Joby's been working actually through the U.S. military, I think it's the Air Force actually, Agility Prime. I don't have a link to that, but I can put it in the description below if you missed one of our previous videos on Agility Prime. It's something that the American Armed Services are doing to help spur this growth as well, this market kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Which actually is possibly why that article with the Joby plane earlier had a guy in a military flight suit, but I'm not sure about that.
Well, I would also think that he could have, everybody puts on drag.
Yeah, he could have been just a test pilot, which could be the thing too.
Yep. So hey,
yeah,
that's what we got for you today. So just wanted to close out with this for everybody, just so you know. Remember, we have coming up on Saturday night, we will be live streaming. That'll be tomorrow night, probably starting around 8 o'clock. We know the rocket doesn't go off to like 11:51 Eastern Standard Time, and the weather will be crap, but we are going to give it our go. We're going to have some really, really great equipment out there, some fantastic cameras. We're going to be doing some live stream chatting the whole time. We hope you guys show up. The reason why we're going to be up there for 4 hours is so people can get a gist of what we're doing. You will be able to see the rocket on the launch pad from the distance of where we'll be viewing from, but actually a lot closer because of the equipment that we'll have. And we're going to be super excited to bring it to you. So we look forward to seeing everybody there tomorrow night. Like, again, we'll be on about 8 o'clock. And we'll be open to discuss just about anything. We're not going to just limit it to just the SpaceX stuff, but we're going to be talking everything just to keep the conversation going. And that's that. And with that said,
I just added, just for anybody watching the stream, I just added a link to a article from Popular Mechanics from April last year. It's a bit dated, of course, but it'll give you a rundown of what Agility Prime was. So you can understand that, the military is driving some of this innovation as well. So
the military. All right. Good deal. All right, folks. Well, thanks so much for tuning in today. And like I said, like, subscribe, follow if you can. And we're going to be uploading that commercial that we showed you at the top of the hour to the live stream channel today. So you guys will be able to check that out. So that'll be up there for our little bit of advertising clip. And hopefully we'll hear back from Elon Musk and company, and they'll give us rights to what we need to do tomorrow. So until then,
nice.
Everybody have a great weekend, and we shall see you later. Take care.
Yep. Take care. Stay safe. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time. We'll see you tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.